Hello.
Riley, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, this is Secretary Lawson. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I've got my computer up, but I don't know if the video is going to work. We may just have to do this by voice tonight.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, well, I guess we can go ahead and get started with our special programming. So tonight, I'm thrilled to welcome the Indiana Secretary of State, Secretary Lawson, with us tonight. She's going to share a little bit about her career and her initiatives now as Secretary of State. And I'm also happy that she's here to share with us as she is a fellow Boilermaker. So Secretary Lawson, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thank you. Just one little correction. My husband's a Boilermaker. But I lived up there when he was going to school, and I was working at Indiana Bell and helped put him through Purdue. So thank you very much for having me today. I really do appreciate getting a chance to speak to students about my office, and I especially appreciate it when students are in leadership, and I know that they're interested in the electoral process and hopefully the political process as well. So it gives me a great deal of pleasure to think that the future of civic education is in good hands. So thank you very much for that. I was asked to share a little bit about my story, so I will do that first, and then I'll explain what my office does on a daily basis, and then we can open it up if we have time and have a discussion. I realize I've got 45 minutes, so I'll get started. So with my story, I grew up in Danville, Indiana, just a little west of Indianapolis in Hendricks County. My husband and I married young. Actually, he was in college and I was just out of high school. And we started an auction company while he was attending Purdue. And I will tell you that, it was a struggle. He actually drove back and forth from Purdue to Indianapolis to many places during the week and held auctions. And as I mentioned, I worked at Indiana Bell. And then as our company grew, I did a lot of the paperwork for the office. And one day I was in the county clerk's office in Hendricks County filing some paperwork. And I stood there and I waited and I waited and I waited for help. And it occurred to me that I could probably do a better job managing that office. So that was my goal then. I ran then. The next year I ran for county clerk. And I have to tell you, I was not an insider, so the local party wasn't supporting me at the time. But I just outworked everybody. And you may not know this, but today candidates have what we call walking lists. And so they know from their walking list, depending on their party, where people live and which doors you need to take the time to stop at or not. Well, since I wasn't a political insider, I didn't have walking lists. So I just knocked on every door. It didn't make a difference if it was a Republican or a Democrat. And I won that primary pretty handily. And then my next political job was pretty much the same way. County office holders are term limited. You can only hold 2 4-year terms in a 12-year period. And so I was term limited, and I tried to decide what I wanted to do. And as a county clerk, I was active in the organization, and I eventually became president, but I also chaired the clerk's legislative committee. And so I was at the State House a lot. And honestly, I just felt like the legislature could have been more sensitive to county issues and local issues. And so I decided to run for the state Senate seat. It came open in that district, and so I ran. That was a 5-way primary. And I just outworked my opponents. But I was able to serve in the Senate for the next 16 years. And during that time, I became chair of the Senate Elections Committee, and also eventually served as the majority floor leader in the Indiana Senate. And I'm proud to say I was the first woman to hold that seat in Indiana history. And I hate to say this, but I'm the only woman because I've been succeeded by men in that position. But I really didn't think that I would go any higher than that. But one day in 2012, early, the Secretary of State, the current Secretary of State, was having some issues, and he eventually had to resign. And so Governor Mitch Daniels was the governor, and he asked me if I would accept his appointment to fill the vacancy in the Secretary of State's office. And I really believe it was because, as you know, the county clerks run elections, and I chaired the Senate Elections Committee. I sat on that committee for 16 years, and it was 2012. It was 54 days before the presidential primary of that year, and I was the logical choice. So I jumped right in, and we got through the election in 2012, but really learning about the office was really a trial by fire. I really have learned so much since I have become secretary, and I also have to tell you that it's really the honor of my life to serve as Secretary of State. You know, I've traveled the state. I've been in all 92 counties multiple times, stood for I finished that term in 2012, and then I stood for election in 2014, and then again in 2018 for my last and final term. So, excuse me. So let's talk about the office itself. Obviously, the Secretary of State's office, the role that's best known is the role of elections and Chief Elections Officer. But there's a lot of other important things that the Secretary of State does. Besides elections, there's 3 other divisions: business services, auto dealers, and securities. The business services division registers all of the businesses in the state of Indiana. It also accepts business filings, registrations, trademarks. We administer the Uniform Commercial Code. Those are very important liens. People search those for public records. So let's say, for an example, a farmer was putting out their crops, and and they took out a loan. And let's say, midway through the season, they decide to sell. Well, there's a Uniform Commercial Code lien on that property because the farmer borrowed money to put in the crops. And so that lien information is very important to title companies and to buyers of property. We also commission notaries public, and notaries public, interestingly, is the largest group of public officials in the state of Indiana. There are about 95,000 of them, and they do things like notarize documents. And we also handle apostees. And what apostee is a document that is used outside the country, but it certifies that the notary that notarized the document is actually a notary commissioned in the state of Indiana. The Hague Convention was an agreement amongst a number of countries, and that's why countries accept each other's documents, is because of the apostee. The last few years have been really big for business services. When I was in the legislature, I heard bandying around for a number of years this thing called Business One Stop. And the idea was that a business could go to one web portal and they conduct all of their dealings with the state. And instead of sitting on hold on the telephone for hours and being transferred from one agency to the other, or filing paperwork, very, very similar in 6 or 7 different places. So that was the vision of One Stop. So my staff and I went to work on this idea in 2012, and we went live. It took a long time to get it developed and written and the software installed, but we went live with InBiz Business One Stop in 2016. So that was really to great acclaim. We started with online features in the Secretary of State's office, but right now we are also connected to Department of Revenue, Department of Workforce Development, Professional Licensing Agency, and also the Attorney General's office. And the project worked so well, then we had cities calling, wanting to know if they could be a part of it for their local permitting process. So right now we have the city of Greenwood, and the city of Evansville will soon be coming on. And I would just say that InBiz is proof that government can find ways to be efficient and effective for Hoosiers without becoming overbearing. Other states have heard about InBiz and they want to replicate its success. So we do go to different states and explain to them what we've been doing. Sometimes they come here to Indiana to visit. And we've also been very pleased to receive some significant national recognition and several national awards for InBiz. The next division, Auto Dealer Services Division. If you sell a vehicle, if you make a vehicle, you've got manufacturing there right there in Lafayette with Subaru, or if you destroy a vehicle, you're licensed and regulated by the Secretary of State's office. One tidbit of information, you all see those paper plates on the back of cars, those temporary plates. Well, those plates, the numbers on those plates are generated from the database out of the Secretary of State's office. And one reason that those are important is because those numbers are fed into the National Law Enforcement database. So even though you don't have a permanent plate on your car, law enforcement would know, for an example, if that car got stolen, who to call, who does the car belong to? Or, if you've got, if you ran a stop sign, let's say, and you got stopped by law enforcement, they would know that you were legitimately driving that car. So that's important. If you ever have trouble getting a title to a car that you purchased in Indiana, my office is the office that you would call for help. We've made a number of small changes in the way the Auto Dealer Services Division operates this past year, but it's mostly technical, and it really focuses on the dealer licenses. So unless one of you wants to be a car dealership after you graduate from school, we'll just move on with that. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, though. But also in the Secretary of State's office, another division that I really have learned to love is the Securities Division. And that's because it's our duty to make sure that the state's financial planners and stockbrokers and the firms that they work for operate with integrity. And when those firms stray, it's our duty to ensure that the swindlers are brought to justice. So you can think of the Secretary of State's office as the white-collar crime unit of state government, because we know how to trace the paper trail. We can present the case to trial. The prosecutors will deputize my attorneys because we're the experts in white-collar crime. We've really accomplished a lot the last few months in that division as well. And then we don't just go after the bad guys, though. We also strive to make sure that we can educate investors, students like yourselves. We want to arm you with the knowledge that can make you make better investment choices. And we also give restitution of funds awards. So if someone is unfortunately scammed, then the Indiana Securities Division Restitution Fund can help victims, and we've helped victims recover over about $500,000 in payments since 2010. Then the other thing that we do is we run a education program. I have 2 education coordinators that travel the state of Indiana, and we run. Now this was before COVID. But now we've set up a blog called Indiana MoneyWise, which is our new outreach program designed to help educate Hoosiers with financial literacy, whether it's budget planning to sound investing. We also produce a documentary. You might want to get on our website. It's called Scammed: Investment Fraud Revealed, and it gives the details of stories of some Hoosier fraud victims. And it really does tell the story from their perspective, and it's quite moving. Again, you can review that on our website. We've also recently had a partnership with a company called EverFi, and we launched an online financial literacy curriculum for high school students around the state. We were able to reach 100 high schools and over 7,000 students. So we're very proud of that program. But obviously, the place we get the most attention, especially in a year like this, is the election division. And as Secretary of State, I'm the chief election officer of the state. And I would say since 2016, we've been increasingly focused on cybersecurity, protecting our systems from interference and ensuring every Hoosier voter can exercise their right to vote. And of course, this global pandemic introduced some interesting twists this year, but I'll get to that in just a moment. You might be interested to know that the Indiana Election Division is comprised of completely a bipartisan staff. So there's 2 co-directors that are appointed by the governor, 1 Democrat, 1 Republican, and then each co-director hires their own staff. And there's equal numbers of Republicans and Democrats in the Indiana election division. So together, myself and the election division, we work to assist the county election administrators. And I know that you've recently heard from the Tippecanoe County Election Board, or at least I think I saw that on your schedule. So you know that elections are run on the local level. The county clerks running your local polling places, your local voter registration board works to ensure that all of you are registered for the upcoming election. That deadline has passed, by the way. Your local county election board also reviews issues that come up on election day. And I'm sure they told you that election day can be very dry and boring, or it can be very interesting and very stressful. We never know what's going to happen on election day. And sometimes the busiest times before election day lead up to a very quiet and peaceful election day, which I'm hoping for this year. The election division also handles all of the campaign finance reports for state candidates, and they certify the election to the national government after all absentee, in-person, provisional, and military ballots are counted. But as you might expect, COVID-19 has really complicated everything this year, even to the point that even though we normally have a May primary, this year we were in a lockdown and we moved the primary date to June the 2nd. And one of the other biggest changes we made was no excuse absentee. So normally, and this stands for the general election, but in the primary, because we were under a lockdown order, we did say that anybody in Indiana who felt that they wanted to vote absentee rather than going to the polls in person should be able to do so. And they were able to apply for absentee ballots. I'll give you some numbers here that I think are really interesting. We did that in the primary, no excuse, but here's where we are today. As of this morning, these reports get generated overnight, so I don't have today's numbers. But as of this morning, over 701,000 people have voted in this election cycle. And 20 days before the primary, even with no excuse absentee, it was 344,000. And then 20 days before 2016 election, we had 171,500 people who had voted at this very same time in the election cycle. So I think those numbers are very telling. The counties have been very busy with absentee and early in-person voting. I was talking a little bit about COVID. We did no excuse absentee. And it did affect our numbers in the primary, but we never thought that we would see them more than double without no excuse absentee for this general cycle. As for you college students, I don't know how many of you have claimed Tippecanoe County as your legal residence. And if you have, then you were able to register to vote in Tippecanoe County. If you did not, then you still have time. You might be from another state, you might be from another county in the state of Indiana. You can still apply in Indiana. You can still apply for an absentee ballot to be mailed to you. But if that is your plan, I would say you need to do it right away. And you can do that. We have a new feature this year. If you go to indianavoters.com, you can actually apply for your absentee ballot online, and it will immediately go into the queue into the county clerk's office, and they will process your ballot or your application, and they will mail you the ballot. Previously, you had to print out a PDF form of the application and mail it into the county, and then the county would review the application and send you the ballot. I just want to assure you that, because there's been a lot of talk about the security of absentee ballots, and in Indiana, I think we do it about as securely as you possibly could. You have to be a registered voter in the state before you can, before your application is approved. And the clerks and their bipartisan teams take every precaution to ensure that ballots are safely and securely handled. Additionally, our state allows for 28 days of early in-person voting. It started on October the 6th, and it has been very, very busy. I went to vote myself in my county this week, and I was pleased when the line was only 45-minute wait to get in. And then I wanted to talk about the pandemic and what we've done to make the polls safe for the primary, but also for this general election. We have procured personal protective equipment for all 92 counties, and those counties have been provided with N95 masks for the poll workers, ear loop masks for voters if they come without one and want one, hand sanitizer, disinfectant and cleaner for the voting machines and the e-poll book tablets, microfiber cloths for disinfecting, gloves, face shields, and sneeze guards. So we've been very generous with counties, and I have to tell you, if it weren't for the Indiana National Guard, I don't know how we would have gotten it out to the counties. But the Indiana National Guard has been a joy to work with. You know, logistics is their expertise, and they helped us unpack and pick and pack and divide supplies that went to the counties. And we rented 6 trucks, and all of the counties have received their PPE for this general election. And we were able to pay for that with the Federal CARES Act money. The federal government sent states dollars in order to protect voters and keep them safe during the election cycle. So that's what we've done with our CARES Act dollars. But I think lost in the COVID conversation, since 2016, the focus has really been cybersecurity as well. In September of 2016, I received an email from the FBI telling me that I needed to look into our statewide voter registration logs to see if there was one of 2 IP addresses that may have hit our system. Luckily, they had not, but they did infiltrate Illinois and Arizona statewide voter registration systems. We don't really know why. I mean, nothing untoward happened, except we know they mined the data. So they have the names and addresses of voters in those 2 states, unfortunately. But the FBI, after that, the FBI told states the most important thing that we could do was multi-factor authentication. So we have done that. So I'm sure you all are familiar with that, where you have a password and a login, and then you can either ask for a text or a phone call or an email that will further give you either a CAPTCHA that you answer, just like I did when I got on the Zoom meeting, or a 6-digit number that you have to insert. But we took it one step further. In Indiana, you have to be physically present in front of your computer, and you have to insert a token that is programmed properly for you. So let's say I'm a part-time temporary worker who's been hired by Tippecanoe County. I have a token, and I'm only working from Monday till noon and Wednesday till noon. That's the only time that token allows me to access the statewide voter registration system. So we took it another step farther than a lot of states have done. I also just want to stress that our voting machines are secure. They have built-in safeties. They're not connected to the internet. They're not connected to one another. And prior to their use, they're certified and inspected by our nonpartisan voting system technical oversight program. It's based out of Ball State, and they provide not only inspection of the machines, but training for all 92 county clerks and their staff. And they're currently working on a new audit process for us. You may have heard about risk limiting audits. And so we've done 3 pilots in the state of Indiana. We'll be doing 3 more after the general election, and then we will be sending a manual to the counties so that they will learn how to do those for themselves. But I think the most significant step that we've taken in recent months is our intrusion detection system. We have an agreement with a top, well-renowned national company, industry-leading intelligence and threat detection company that provides cyber defense services for our state as well as our counties. And it doesn't just, monitor; it blocks viruses, threats, Trojans, all those things. And we can tell even what countries that those cyber attacks are coming from. But it's important to protect our systems. And I think, interestingly enough, it comes to no cost to counties. We've negotiated a contract that provides that support for the counties through December of 2022. So not only the 2020 election, but the 2022 election will be protected as well. And I would say that we're very fortunate. We currently have close to 86 counties that are installed and are protected, and we're working very diligently to make sure that before the election day comes, we'll have all 92 counties up and protected. So I guess before I leave the floor open to questions, I just have one favor to ask you all, and that is just use common sense in this election. I know you will. COVID-19 has put us all in a different place, as we're involved in this political process. So we just rely on you to make sure that you're taking care of yourselves and your fellow students, and that includes being smart at the polls and being smart online too. Don't be the reason that someone else is hesitant to vote. So it's only working together that we can experience a safe and secure election day. And with that, I think I have about 10 minutes if anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much, Secretary Lawson. I guess I'll start with a question and then I'll open it up to the floor. So you've talked about a lot of different projects that you've worked on over the years, and it was really cool to hear your story and your progression about how you got into these roles of public service. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what your favorite project is that you've worked on throughout the years.
Well, obviously elections are my love because I've been working in elections since 1989. So I love the elections, and there's always challenges for every election cycle. This one's been just a tad more stressful. So, but I tell you, the most rewarding project, the most rewarding event is presiding over the Electoral College. I've been able to do that twice now, once in 2012 after the presidential, in 2016 after the presidential, and then I will be presiding again in 2020. The Electoral College will takes place in every state in the country on the same day, and it'll be December the 14th this year. And so that's really very rewarding. I preside over the House of Representatives on Organization Day before this new speaker is elected. And there's a lot of really cool things as Secretary of State I get to do, but I think the most rewarding, the most humbling really is presiding over the Electoral College.
Thank you. I'll turn it over. I think President Gilmore has a question.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was an honor having you come speak today. I had two questions, but I'll only ask one. In terms of financial literacy and that movement for Hoosiers, which I think is incredible, how do you see institutions of higher learning like Purdue or IU or Ball State, how do they fit into your plan?
Well, we have cooperated a number of times with IU. We haven't been able to do quite as much with Purdue, but I know Purdue has some great economic classes and some really good financial training. Ball State also has really good financial training. We've been asked to speak a number of times there. I would love to come and speak at Purdue once the election is over and we get beyond this point. But I know that there are financial experts at all of our state universities and colleges that really work hard to make sure that their students are informed. Years ago when my husband and I first went to college, you would get on campus and you would be offered a new credit card every time you turned around. And we didn't take advantage of it, thankfully, because I think if we had it, we would have quickly got into financial trouble. And so just messages like that, I think, are really important for college students. A lot of our, and I can't remember the percentage now. I think I don't want to get it wrong, but I believe it's 42% of the American public adults grade themselves a C, D, or F in financial literacy. So it's something that we need to do better and smarter. And if you want to get on our IndianaMoneyWise.com website, I think you'll see a lot of really great information on there.
Thank you. I'll open it up. Does anyone else have any questions at this time? Okay, if not, if we could all give Secretary Lawson a round of applause. I know you can't see us very well, but we're giving you a round of applause here. We really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule right now to come speak to us. And yeah, thank you so much.
Well, it was a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Nathan, were we able to get Secretary Lawson disconnected?
Yes, I can help with that.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Riley, are you ready for roll call?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I will turn it over to Riley to start with attendance.
Senator, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Senator Wyrick?
Here.
Senator Ferguson?
Here.
Senator Hopfer?
Here.
Senator Bonnet?
Here.
Senator Bogard?
Here.
Senator Hockenberry?
Here.
Senator McCleary?
Present.
Senator Eingar? Senator Eingar? Okay, Senator Guzman? Oh, there she is. All right, Senator Guzman?
Here.
Senator Dodonna?
Here.
Senator Chris?
Here.
Senator Beatty? I think she's in the Zoom. Yeah. Senator Beatty, can you hear me? Oh, okay. Senator Shaw?
Here.
Senator Griffin Little?
Here.
Senator Reed?
Here.
Senator Cabrera?
Here.
Senator Cadian? Senator Cadian? All right, Senator Stowe?
Here.
Senator de Guzman?
Here.
Senator Coffin?
Here.
Senator Reynolds?
Here.
Senator Burkhart? Senator Burkhart? Senator Agnew? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Senator, I always forget. It's so easy. Senator Cop?
Here, cop.
Okay, it's so easy. Okay, Senator Siobhan?
Here.
Siobhan?
Nice.
Then
Yeah, thanks.
Senator Shy?
Here.
All right. Attendance has been taken.
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
so sorry. I'm here. Senator Beatty is here.
You're good. I saw you.
I missed it.
Okay, we will now move into proxy reports. If you're a proxy, if you could please state your name and reason for being here. I don't think we have any proxies tonight. Okay, and then we'll move into the introduction of visitors. If you're a visitor, if you could please state your name and reason for being here. Do you want to introduce yourself? You can just push down.
Kyle. I'm with the Purdue Exponent.
Okay, thank you. We will now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the Pledge of Purpose. Okay, I pledge allegiance. Our purpose. We'll now move into the approval of minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as distributed. We will now move into executive reports. President Gilmore, do you have any executive reports?
Hello, everyone. Next Monday is our University Senate session where we will vote on the Pass, No Pass initiative. And Hannah can talk more about that with an EPC if she would like to, as well as the addition of making the withdrawal date a little bit later in the semester. And we'll hopefully still get to hear back, but be voting on a reading day in tandem with EPC support. So that will be really exciting. Hopefully we'll have our own supportive documents to go along with that. But it's a big win that we got this far. The reading day petition had a little over 10,550 signatures with just as many comments. And if you have a chance to go through them, I think, I don't know if it was comforting to know that we're all in the same place, but it was also quite heartbreaking. But so intend to bring all of that as evidence to Senate on Monday. In addition, so sorry. The Equity Task Force. Yeah, so we had our first session last Thursday. It was 6 hours, 6 great hours. First session, we have our next two tomorrow and Friday, where we'll go over the data, and then hopefully you'll hear more. There have been updates on the Board of Trustees website, so if you'd like to go, they have our meeting minutes, our agendas, as well as a full list of all of the representatives, both in the steering committee and the working group. I would highly recommend that you check it out. And if there are any specific questions that you have for the task force, if you could send me an email, because they're going to update the FAQ page as we go along, and sending questions directly to them would be great. There also is a form on the website, again on the Board of Trustees website, where you can submit your own concerns, questions, and comments, but also feel free to send them through me so I can bring them right to the steering committee.
Okay, on my end, I believe I got everyone's RSVP for the dinner on the 27th, and so I've sent those numbers in. If anything changes between now and then, please just let me know so that I can let them know for the meal count. And then I just wanted to remind you, so we have 2 more in-person meetings this semester, and then we'll have 1 virtual before the end of the semester. So more updates on what that last virtual meeting will look like are coming. And then I met with the Student Trustee Search Committee for the first time on Friday, and we finalized the application and the timeline for the school year. So more information to come if that's something you're interested in applying for. And we will have 2 in-person callouts in West Lafayette, as well as a virtual callout and a video if anyone isn't able to make those. And then finally, I just wanted to remind you all of the email that I sent out, I believe on Monday, that really lays out the Senate duties and how to find the information that you need. But again, if you have any questions about that, Alex and I are happy to answer them. And I also put in links to attend the SAO virtual office hours if you have any questions that can be directed their way as well. Chief of Staff.
Hey, so main things that are coming up, we have our internal retreat on the 17th, so this coming weekend. I would love to see everybody there. For those of you that came last time, I hope you enjoyed yourself, and if you did, we'd love to have you back for more, because it's a lot less rules and expectations and a lot more of let's hang out and get to know one another better. Especially, this year we're not necessarily crossing paths with each other in person as much as we would like to across branches. So this gives everybody a great opportunity to just be able to get together and fellowship together. So we would love to see everybody there. If you look at the calendar on the website, during MHA week, there is a volunteer event that, yes, will count towards your volunteering event for the semester if you're able to attend. So I understand that maybe some of you have been attending volunteering events in the past that were put on by PSG that are not allowed to occur this year, or just ones in general around Lafayette and West Lafayette that maybe are not occurring either. And so this is one that is provided internally that can count towards your volunteering event for the semester. And to be quite frank as well, one of your fellow senators is a co-chair. And PSG as a whole, this is something that the reputation of PSG is being put on over and over again in a legacy that our own president is trying to create. So it is great to be able to see people participate and help out in any way that they can with that during that week at all. But that is a volunteering event occurring on the 20th. So if you'd like more details about that, please feel free to ask myself or Senator Reynolds or Asada if neither of us are available. And then there are several things going on within BOD. All the committees are doing great. The people are working hard. We've had a lot of new additions to the teams that have seemed to acclimate and assimilate very well into PSG as a whole. And so if you'd like more specifics about that, I'd be happy to answer to anybody. But I don't want to sit here and waste everybody's time just going through the list. But just know that people are working hard and they're doing a great job.
Senior Policy Advisor or Chief Justice?
Not too many updates from my end. The work on the report for the recommendations to administration to refine the free speech policy at Purdue is still in the works. Unfortunately, there's been less rate of response from other Big Ten schools in order to get more information from them as to how they think their administration is doing with free speech policy and how they think their administration has been handling cases of hate speech or just things that students don't like on campus. So in order to continue getting that information, hopefully that'll be trickling in over the next few weeks. But right now we only have a response from Michigan. But I've been able to try and compile a few things from news sources on what's happening in different campuses and how administrators responded, but that's still pretty sparse. I'm still mainly going to be relying on responses from other Big Ten schools. So stay updated on that, yeah.
And there are 2 more days of Know Your Rights Week, so we'll be tabling out in front of the Armory from 11 to 2 tomorrow and Friday. So feel free to stop by, get to know some of the people in court, and get some free Dominoes.
Thank you. Pro Temp Griffin Little, do you have anything?
Not really. I'll save it for announcements at the end.
Okay, sounds good. Move into committee reports. Oh, okay, that's supposed to say committee reports. Are there any committee reports at this time? Yes.
So not much, but CSRA is continuing to work on legislation involving meal plans and residence halls, and if anyone would like input or questions or whatever, just let me know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator Chris. Any other committee reports? Yes, Senator Reed.
So update on our governing docs rework. We pretty much finished Article 4 with a few small touches, and we just are tackling the rest of the Constitution in our next meeting. So if you have any final comments for Article 4 of the Constitution, please get that to me very quickly, as that will likely be voted on next meeting. And if you have any other comments about the last 4 or 5 articles of the Constitution, let me know, and you can be a part of the process in rewriting those.
Thank you. Any other? Yes, Senator Dodona.
FA has been working on drafting what the PSG small grants will be looking like. I had a chance to meet with Greg and Hannah this last week, as well as talk to FA about answering some of those preliminary questions. Our goal is to have some sort of draft within the next couple of weeks. If anyone has any particular opinions or wants to express their input, we would love to hear it.
Thank you, Senator Reynolds.
So UAA is trying to put together a survey about course evaluations, It might be done before the next session, but just in case it is, please keep your eyes open in the Slack and take it if I send it.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move into informal discussion. Do I hear any informal discussion at this time? Yes, Senator Stowe.
So the Accessibility Committee has been created. We are going to have our first meeting next Tuesday, the 20th at 5 p.m. That's going to be virtual. I will put more information about that in the Slack, but our Slack, I put the link for that in the other Slack. So if you are interested, please join in. I hope we're going to be doing big things.
Thank you, Senator. So any other informal discussion?
Yes, I wanted to address something really quick.
Yeah.
Not sure you can hear me. Okay, super quickly. Hello, everyone. For those of you who may not know me or have met me, I'm David Forsyth, the ABTS liaison. And I just wanted to propose the idea of adding a student athlete senate position. Recently, I have contacted other schools regarding this idea and have received the legislation from Michigan State for their student athlete senate position. And the University of Iowa also informed me that they created a student athlete position through an executive order. So like I said, I just wanted to address this idea and bring it up if anyone is interested in pursuing this and creating the legislation for it. If you have any questions or are interested, please reach out to me via email or message in Slack. I know that's short, but that is all I had. So again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out and let me know.
Okay, thank you. Any other informal discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will move into old business. Do I hear any old business at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into new business. Do I hear any new business at this time? Yes, Senator Griffin Little.
So I propose to table resolution 2036 to back to committee review. However, I did want to state that I think the timing of the disagreements that we may have had was a bit unfortunate, and I hope that in tabling this will show that the student body is amicable to hearing the thoughts from Aramark, but we are still very intent on pursuing this in the future. So with that, I have a motion to table.
Okay, it has been properly motioned and seconded to table resolution 2036. At this time, we will take a vote, and this vote is to table the resolution. So all of those in favor of tabling resolution 2036, please raise your name placard. Okay. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Okay, in the eyes of the chair, the yeses have it. So it has been properly moved to table resolution 2036. Is there any other new business at this time? Yes, Senator Reed.
I'd like to motion to bring up Bill 2037.
It's been properly motioned and seconded to bring up Bill 2037, or Resolution 2037, which is the proposal of the pass-fail option for the 2020 fall semester. At this time, I will open it up for discussion from the authors of this bill and then to the floor.
Did you want to start or do you want me to start?
You can start.
Yes, so pass-fail is an option that some students have asked for by name, and some students have just expressed the trials and tribulations that they're going through this semester in regards to academics. I don't know if I need to say too much to this body, who has been pretty supportive of this particular piece of legislation. I will note we discussed it at length during cabinet, and also have been in collaboration with the EPC and really trying to hear all sides. But ultimately, we believe that this option, especially with advisor approval, we think that part is absolutely necessary, but will be the best solution for our students. And we recognize that some have concerns that it will decrease not necessarily the value, but the caliber of grades here at our institution, but believe that having this option for students is what's going to be the best for their well-being, as well as with faculty and staff, and just a successful academic matriculation here at Purdue. I would be happy to go more in depth in terms of concerns that you all might have about the resolution, and proposal, but hope that you vote yes.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. The language that you see here is what we discussed in EPC, not this past meeting, but the one before that, and the switch with the advisor approval was a key piece that was talked about, just to make sure that students go have a conversation with their advisor, learn all of their options so that they can make an informed decision about this. And then again, for all undergraduate courses until December 4th, which I believe is either the week before Dead Week or the end of Dead Week. So at this time, we'll open it up for discussion from the floor. Do you have any discussion at this time? Yes, Senator Reed.
I guess I just have a specific question. It says the deadline will be extended from Monday, October 26th. Is there currently a pass, no pass option?
I don't believe so. I believe there is an option you have to go in and present your case to your advisor, but it's not for all courses. I believe that's what it's referring to, but Vice President Dar might have a more clear explanation.
Yeah, it was my understanding that the pass, no pass was an option within the first 2 weeks of the class, but this was the date language that was used by EPC, so I'm happy to look it up real quick just so we can confirm that. Is there any other discussion? Yes, Senator Griffin-Little.
Just to be picky, it does say Bill 2037, so I think if we do want it to be as cohesive and correct as possible, then just a friendly amendment if we would think it would be necessary to change the wording to a resolution.
Yes, I accept it as an amicable amendment.
I accept it as a friendly amendment.
Is there any other discussion at this time? Okay, seeing none, we will move into a vote. Senator Reed, I was still trying to find that final deadline for you quickly. Do you want me to try to do that real quick?
I'll be in support of it either way. I was just curious maybe I want to pass some stuff.
Yes, Senator Griffin-Little.
It was also my understanding that the deadline to make a class pass-fail is the same as it is to drop it without it being on your transcript, which is within the first 2 weeks of class, and that would have to be done with your advisor.
Okay, thank you. And we can get that clarified also as well. Is there any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into a vote on Resolution 2037, proposal of the pass-fail option for the 2020 fall semester. So if all those in favor, if you could please raise your name placards. And Riley, you might have to help us out with the count on the online. I can give the count in person.
This is Senator Beatty. Can you see my vote?
Yes, I can see your vote.
I'm texted you, Hannah.
Okay, I counted 18 in person, and you have 5 online?
Yes.
Okay, all those opposed, same sign. Okay, I count 1 in person. Any abstentions? Okay, so with a vote of 23-1-0, Resolution 2037 passes. Do I hear any other new business at this time? Yes, Senator Dodona.
Motion to bring up Bill 2038.
Okay, it's been properly motioned and seconded to bring up Bill 2038, resolution in support of Election Day, serving as a civic day of service. We'll now start with discussion from the authors and then open it up to discussion from the floor.
Any author, please feel free to hop in. I know you all don't want to hear my voice, but this is something that is extremely important and was something we talked about during our campaign, see happening across the with the Purdue's opting into himself, stressing the importance of civic literacy and civic engagement with attempts to create a course, and just emphasizing in the various messages that he sent out this semester. We believe it's the right time to move to have Election Day as a civic service from here on out. Would ultimately hope to make it a holiday so that we can include faculty and staff. But for right now, we're really hoping to get this passed for this year and then have it on the academic calendar moving forward. Research shows that students historically, the biggest reason why they don't vote is the lack of access, and they have things to do and they can't get to the polls. And here, as Purdue students, we know how heavy our workload is. We know how busy our schedules are, and believe that this would really increase our participation. I think it's important to note, you can look at the data that's in the resolution, but we are always below the national average in terms of voting. And we've increased over the last few elections, but I think that this would really encourage all of our students to go out and vote, and would highlight the importance and significance behind that civic duty. And so I would urge you all to be in support of this resolution, and again would be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Senator Bonnet.
And I'll echo what I said in caucus. I want to make it very clear that there's a key distinction here between reading days and the civic day of service. This is to be a foundational step for something we'd like to see permanently installed, and this is something that matters regardless, pandemic or not, reading day or not, stress or not, whatever. This is doing something that we were supposed to do as citizens with our civic duty, and we think that's really important. I'd also like to note the data is really interesting because we never get above 50%. We never get above half, which is crazy, considering that these are some people's first election, second election, third election. These are really important times for us to be making these decisions, so it just makes sense for us to have the time off.
Do I hear any other discussion at this time? Yes, Senator McClary.
So I have a question for any of the authors. How do we want this to interact with the bill that I believe will be up on the docket next, the bill or the resolution about the reading day? Because if I had to guess, we're not going to be able to get both of these through to the University Senate. I highly doubt they'll approve 2 days off. So is there a preference on this one over the other one, or do we want to just put them both and hope one goes through? Or what exactly are your thoughts on that?
That is a great question that I had a very lengthy conversation about today. And I will say I've been told several times that it's not possible, but I think we all know I can be quite persistent. So I want to be clear that my intent, especially knowing now that discussions from administration have been centered around how stressful Election Day is, how much extra things they have to do, and recognizing the importance, they still are erring on the side of not giving that day off. Because per what you said, right, we don't want it to be confused with a reading day or a day off, recognizing that people have things to do. I would err and say, well, if you recognize how stressful it is and how much work there is to do, that's exactly why it should be an additional day off. But I digress on that point. Right now, they're looking at either October 28th or November 4th. For several reasons, one being in terms of the date. I think that November 4th, speaking with the provost, is more in his favor. It just gives us more time to prepare and let professors know, let students know, and also in terms of the election and the aftermath, it might be the safest and best option for our students. But I will go back to what Senator Bonnet just said, is that regardless, this is an initiative that we hope to see play out into the future. And again, I want to stress that it might not pass, but I have every intention of bringing to the floor whatever day is not decided upon. So let's say they say it's Election Day, I'm going to push for another reading day outside of that, and let's say they say that it's the 4th. I'll just present argument, just because in terms of the discussion, I think we all recognize the importance. It's just finding the will. So Vice President Dar, I'm sure you have other feelings as well, but that's where I stand.
I do agree with President Gilmore that in our EPC meeting on Monday, they weren't too excited about 2 days off. And so I think it'll kind of just play out this year, but it doesn't mean that we still can't try for it and also set a precedent, hopefully, for the years to come. Senator Reed?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, you can go next, Senator Beatty.
I know you mentioned that it'd be great to have both of them, but is there any possibility through the way of however it technically works that the reading day could be on election day, but it still counts as a civic literacy day? Or is that like completely different in terms of like, I don't know, their purpose or whatever?
Yeah, so it definitely was, and I think in terms of how they were presented, and it's definitely my fault of putting them together, and so I think that was the idea at first, is that it would be a combination of the two, but now they're leaning into, they don't want the term reading day associated with election day. So I think if it is election day, which at this point, but it would be called a civic day of service versus if it's a reading day, it needs to be on another day. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, but there was a lot of conversation about politicizing or making that day, driving the attention away in terms of well-being and that sort of stuff. I don't know if that answered your question.
I guess a follow-up is a civic, like a non-instructional day of civic service. In what functionality is that different from a reading day?
Yeah, so this is the language that has just been going around the country in terms of, I know Stanford brought a similar piece of legislation to the floor. Several other Big Tens are bringing this sort of legislation to the floor. And it was our wording that, as opposed to calling it a holiday, was a civic day of service, and really played along with the civic engagement and civic literacy that they've been talking about over the last few years. I think the reading day is supposed to be, that's just the word that they've been using in terms of a vacation. And so I think they want to stress that when you get election day off, or even when we do this, it's not a vacation, it's to do your civic duty and go to vote, whereas a reading day is supposed to be a day of rest. And that's the distinction between the two, it's my understanding.
Thank you. And I'd just like to make a final point. I'm in support of both this and the next bill. It's really important that our students have a break. I know for myself and many others. So if that's through a day of civic service or a reading day, the more the better. And I think it's really important to pursue both of these opportunities. But I think the precedent that this sets with having it continue through future academic calendars is very important and is definitely something that we should consider.
Is that a direct question to the author? Okay. I'll let Senator Beatty go and then Senator Bonnet.
Okay, thank you. I was just wondering, I know you kind of touched on this, but say this passes tonight, what's the feasibility that this happens? Because I'm just looking at the timeline, it's going to be kind of short note. I just wanted to know action plan you have in place.
Absolutely, that's a great question, Senator Beatty. So again, I spoke with the provost this afternoon at 5 p.m. Dr. Orola Castillo, who is the chair of the EPC, Dr. Nichols, who is the chair of the Senate. Everyone, although we're passing it here today, we've been having these conversations. I mean, in cabinet for the past three or 4 weeks, and so it isn't new. And we have set up in place. The University Senate meets next Monday, but so the EPC has already drafted their own form of legislation. In terms of bringing new business to the University Senate floor, you don't have to have a piece submitted. And so we're well within our timeline. They've talked about it too, but if COVID has taught anything about this university is that they will make the things that they want to happen. And that has been something that I've continued to say, is that I recognize that we're displacing some students and some schedules, and I recognize that it might not happen for some people in terms of clinical nurses that need clinical hours or labs that just can't be moved for the sake of getting your degree. So while it might only happen for 80% of our students, that is a majority, and it's still something I think is worth fighting for. So in terms of timeline, we've kind of done our homework and background so that we're set up in a good space right now to where if this passes, and even let's say it doesn't pass, it will go to the University Senate floor.
So Monday, we'll know on Monday.
Monday.
Senator Bonnet.
Yeah, I would just like to echo that my argument here and the reason why I jumped in on both of these bills is it's about intention. Like, my duties as a senator are to express the intentions of the student body, regardless of whether I really think it's feasible or not. I think it's at least worth putting out into the space and kind of forcing them to look us in the face and say, no, you won't do this. I'm going to force you to say that to my face. I'm not going to be polite and just like not act like it's not happening. Like, say it to my face, say it to everybody's face. And I'm going to force you to do that. So it's about intention, and it's about where we want things to be, not where they are. So I would encourage you to vote with that in mind. And also, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but we do need a friendly amendment to fully make this a resolution, just to make sure we're completely clear and pass it tonight. So.
Is that an amicable amendment? Yeah. All the authors accept? Okay. It has been amended to make the tweak to make sure that it says resolution to be consistent. Senator Chris, do you still have something to share? Okay. Any other discussion at this time? Would someone like to yield a minute to President Gilmore?
I'll yield a minute to the president.
Thank you. I did just want to note that there, and I don't know if anyone is thinking this, so I might be shooting myself in the foot, but there was some concerns raised that pushing both might not result in any. But in terms of strategy, where we will already have touch pass fail, we already talked about withdrawal. Whichever day that the EPC does sponsor, if that's a reading day, we'll do that one first, so we make sure we have all of our ducks in a row. So whatever the additional ask is, I would not jeopardize what hopefully we will have for the sake of it. But Senator Bonnet said it beautifully. Definitely going to put up a good fight.
Any other discussion at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of Resolution 2038, resolution in support of Election Day serving as a civic day of service, please raise your name placard. Okay, I have 20 in here. Secretary Gill.
5. Can you hear me?
Yes. How many did you have online?
5.
Okay. All those opposed, same sign. And any abstentions? Okay, with a vote of 25-0-0, bill or resolution 2038 passes. Do I hear any other new business at this time? Senator Reynolds.
Motion to bring up Bill 2039.
Some properly motioned and seconded to bring up bill or resolution 2039. Sorry, I'm not sure if I have the wording right there. Proposal of a reading day for the 2020 fall semester. We'll start with discussion from the authors and then move into discussion from the floor. Do you have anything additional to add?
Just got word that the date they are proposing is November 4th.
Yes, Senator Reed.
If I'm not mistaken, that would require a change, as in the whereas clauses, it says the reading day would be in October.
Are you proposing that as an amicable amendment?
Yes, I am.
Is it accepted by the author?
It is. I do want to note that that's what they have on that, but that it's flexible. So there is a possibility that they could switch and go to the. So I guess I don't know. Can you put it October or?
Yeah, it can, like during the month of October or the first week of November.
Okay. Do you accept that as an amicable amendment? Okay. Riley, it has been amicably amended to, after the word October, add or November. Is there any other discussion at this time? Yes, Senator Chris.
I'm just offering a friendly amendment to change it from a bill to a resolution to connected.
Yes, accepted. Any other discussion? Yes, Senator McCleary.
How does this reading day deal with asynchronous lectures? Like, suppose someone had, let's say the day off was Wednesday, suppose someone had 3 lectures a week they needed to watch. Would the professors be required to only assign 2 lectures for that week? Or would they still just have the same amount of workload? Personally, most of my classes, and I know this is common for many their classes are online and asynchronous, which means that professors could still assign the same amount of work, they just wouldn't necessarily make anything due that day. So does it really have an effect there or not? And this is a direct question for the author.
Yes, so as discussed in EPC, because of the contracts that have already been signed with the faculty and the staff, it is not going to be designated as a university holiday. That's also so the dining courts can remain open for students, but rather as a day. They're going to call it a no meeting day, where they're encouraging students as well as faculty and staff to not hold meetings, not hold class. But again, like what you're saying with asynchronous, they'd also encourage things not to be due. But again, it would be up to the individual professor to decide what that would look like in their class, as some courses, especially with nursing and pharmacy, have specific clinical requirements they have to meet to graduate. So it'll look different for each class, but kind of like Asada was saying, they're thinking that 80% or more of the classes should be able to make this work for their course and for their schedule. So hoping to make the impact that way, but there probably will be a few classes that are unable unless the professor decides to cancel one of the lectures. Do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Yes, Senator Hoffer.
A question for President Gilmore. So you said that they're pushing for November 4th. So on our previous resolution where we were asking for November 3rd, do you think that one or the other is going to be more or less likely to go through if it's back-to-back days?
That's a great question. I know that in terms of November, when originally we did propose both days in discussion, and there was concern that if it was both days, then maybe people wouldn't vote all together because they would go home and they wouldn't do those sort of things. I am unsure at this moment, but I still do believe that there's some validity in asking. And again, since the 4th is not set in stone just yet until they vote on it, I do want to make sure that we have room to advocate in case it goes back to the 28th or another date proposed by University Senate.
Could someone yield me a minute?
I yield a minute to the VP.
It's okay, President Gilmore. I was wondering if I could ask if there's a day that the students would prefer, November 4th or October 28th, since it is still flexible with EPC. So I don't know if I'm allowed to pose a question to the floor, but I just did. Senator Chris?
Personally speaking, with Election Day, if we're already asking that day off, I would say the 28th or the October date would be better, because then they're not back to back, and it just seems like the university would be more likely to approve that and be okay with that.
Senator Griffin-Little?
I think the sooner the better, honestly, because I know a lot of people are struggling and deserve a much needed break. And I would say if we could say it'll be this month, a lot of people would think that that's a really big achievement. So I say sooner the better.
Senator Reynolds?
Definitely sooner the better. And I'm personally, and I know the bill for the election day off mentioned how Indiana residents are not less likely to absentee ballot vote, but for people out of state, Asada said they might go home, and maybe that will encourage people out of state to go home and vote if they didn't get a chance to register for absentee. And I know that's not really allowed, but and also sooner the better, but I'm just saying it may be a good thing if they have 2 days off in a row.
Yes, Senator Sabon.
So I wanted to ask one of the authors, so the November 4th date was one that was suggested. That could be a reading day, just a point of clarification. So we could either have the 28th of October, Election Day, as a civic day of engagement, or November 4th as a possible reading day, which it seems that they seem to prefer more. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it was just the October 28th and the November 4th were two dates that had been thrown around. So just trying to gauge if there was one maybe that the students preferred that we could give that feedback about. But yeah, it still would be whatever day is decided, there's going to be a resolution that has to do with a reading day, as well as the separate resolution that has to do with the civic day of service. So the civic day of service is set in stone on election day, but the other one, there's still a little bit of room for discussion. Yes, Senator Sivan.
Then I would just like to add, I would also agree with it having it be sooner rather than later, because by the time November 4th rolls around, I believe that everyone is already checked out anyways, in terms of the semester and their course load. So I just wanted to put in that last thought.
Yes, thank you. Senator Bogard.
I'm going to agree with having it sooner rather than later because I think we all feel obligated to tell Purdue that they need to throw us a bone and give us at least a day. After all, they did take away our fall break. So that's my thoughts.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just really quick wanted to give a shout out to Vice President Dar and President Gilmore. I know when I've been approached by constituents throughout the past couple weeks, this is the number one thing that they've asked for, whether it be this bill or the previous bill that we just talked about. So I just wanted to commend you for, really, truly caring about the student body and putting action forward and everyone who's worked on this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no further discussion, we'll move into a vote. Resolution 2039, proposal of a reading day for the fall 2020 semester. All those in favor, if you could please raise your name placards. Okay. Riley, do you have the count online?
4.
Okay, 19 here.
5. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? All right, so it looks like with a vote of 24-01, Resolution 2039 passes. Do I hear any other new business at this time? Seeing none, we'll move into announcements. Do I hear any announcements? Yes, President Gilmore.
So in the spirit of the discussion that we had of noticing and hearing our members talk about in cabinet their high and lows, just the challenges that have been thrown this year. Next week is Mental Health Action Week, excuse me. But I also want it to be a week of rest for PSG. And cabinet members, some of you I wasn't able to call, so I apologize. But got to talk to a majority. So no office hours next week, no BOD. Court, unfortunately, will still have to meet, but we'll make sure we take care of them in some other ways. But really the only ask is go and de-stress at some of these Action Week events. But we're going to call it a PSG recess. But I am very keen on actions matching our words. And we just sat here, right, and talked about the need to take a break, the need to be shown some grace. And we can't really walk our talk if we're not doing it within our own organization. So I appreciate members of cabinet entertaining this idea, and I hope that it's something that you can enjoy. I recognize that you have a lot of other things going on, so if it doesn't give you as much relief as I hope, I apologize. And if you think that this is a necessary of work, then I'd be happy to explore. But there will be an email going out tonight. So I just wanted to announce it here first to get any initial feedback, but appreciate all of you. You are working extremely hard, especially given current circumstances. And I just want to practice what we preach.
Any other announcements?
Yeah, I was going to throw this in during informal discussion, but my Wi-Fi cut out. So I just wanted to highlight really fast, my fellow College of Ag senators and I have been working with PSUB, Derek Lee from PSUB, and we've been working to put on kind of like a fun event for the College of Ag. So we're excited to announce On the 23rd of October, we'll be co-sponsoring a movie night on Slater Hill. As far as we know, it'll be a spooky Halloween movie night. So keep your ear to the ground in the Slack to get more information about that. But we're super excited about it.
Thank you. Senator Bonnet?
I'm just gonna hype the two ladies running the Mental Health Action Week committee. They're doing amazing work. If you have not taken a peek at what they're doing, what we're doing as a committee, we meet on Sundays. We have a great time, and I just think it's really cool. Sorry, hype for mental health. So if you want to join us, just let somebody know because it's a great time.
Yes, Pro Tem Griffin-Little.
If committee chairs and also new senators, so within the past couple weeks, if they could stick around a bit after this session, I would appreciate it.
On my end, I just wanted to say that I think next meeting we're going to try a pilot of hot seat voting so that we can get a digital vote count and a record of how each senator has voted for each bill or resolution. So we're gonna bear with me. I think we're gonna try it next session and see how it goes and see if it can help, especially with our hybrid option, make sure that our vote counts are accurate. Any other announcements? Okay, seeing none, we will move into Senate snaps. So does anyone have any snaps that they would like to give? Yes, Senator Reynolds.
So I think it was last week, I went into Starbucks really late at night and Sammy was working and she was very nice and gave me her like one free cup of coffee that she gets when she's on her shift. So I want to say that was really nice of her. I want to give her a snap for it.
I was also going to snap Senator Bonnet for being so for being so tenacious about her beliefs. I really respect that, so thank you.
I would like to give snaps to Senator Bonnet as well as the rest of the IA committee. We did a lot of good work last night, and I'm really proud of what we accomplished. That was very productive, and I hope it continues for the rest of the semester.
If you're an IA, just wave your hand real quick and I'll come.
Going next so that people will stop calling on me. I would like to give major props to David and Amanda for the Airmark resolution. It was so much work. It is so well thought out, and I am just so incredibly proud to be able to call you guys my peers, and just major props to you guys for that.
I would just like to give Asada and Hannah some snaps this week. I contacted them this week and like texted them like probably like 5 paragraphs, and it was probably pretty annoying, but they're awesome. They are so good at what they do. Like, thank you so much for like caring about the student body so much and like trying so hard to get like reading days and like just breaks. And like, I know like PSG works so hard, but like, I'm glad you recognize that like breaks are needed. So like, that is like just that the leadership that comes from that, like to realize like what your organization needs is like outstanding.
Thank you, Molly.
I want to give some snaps to Senator Stowe for all the work she's put into running up the Accessibility ADAC Committee. It's going to be great if you guys come and join us. We're going to be doing some great work this semester and hopefully change how Purdue is going to be looking in terms of accessibility and access for people with disabilities over the next few years. So.
And I would like to counter that with snaps to JT for all of his help and my answering my millions of questions and texts that I always send him. So thank you very much.
Oh, also, Senator Bonnet, I've been by Starbucks like 10 times this semester, and you've worked there at least 7 of them, and I've never got free coffee.
I'm trying not to get fired. It's a long game here, okay? It's a long game.
Anybody else? Okay, seeing no further snaps, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I move we do now adjourn.
All right, it's been properly motioned and seconded to adjourn this meeting. All those in favor, please raise your name placard. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? All right, have a great evening.